Hey everyone, welcome back to FSi DFS, looking at the 7-game early slate for Wednesday. Hopefully you all did well on Tuesday. Hyped up Seattle. They put up double digits for us. Robles, Polanco. It was looking good. So hopefully we can keep that going here with this one. Trade deadline, it's come and gone. Not a whole lot of big names that were dealt, but still major league names were dealt in exchange for a bunch of prospects, so it does impact who we're going to be targeting for pitching. And that kind of leads into favorite pitcher on the board. It's going to be Bradley here facing off against Miami. Miami, they already dealt Jazz over to the Yankees. They made some more moves, and their lineup that was already struggling and weak just got even weaker. So Bradley was already going to be the number one pitcher on the board even before those moves, but it just even cemented it even more for me. 9.5K, the floor that he provides, the upside that he can provide as well. In this matchup at home, no doubt about it, he's going to be the first pitcher, especially in cash builds. Chris Sale, he is just an ace. The guy has been absolutely incredible. He's been the one bright spot of Atlanta this season. He was the guy who we weren't sure was going to be healthy for Atlanta, and then here he still is healthy, and everybody else is injured. But at 10.5K, that is a hefty salary tag. You're going to be looking and hoping that he's going to get you into that upper 20s DK point range. Can he get there? Absolutely. The strikeout rate on this guy is just elite, especially as of late. His strikeout rate is over 30%. You can see he's got 4 of his past 5 games at 9 or more strikeouts. Facing off against Milwaukee, they do strike out a little bit less than a league average, but at the same time, Chris Sale, he's kind of matchup proof at this point. So he's certainly going to be in play. Grayson Rodriguez, he's third for me in this higher salary tier. I just like the strikeout upside that he can bring. Facing off against Toronto, Toronto made some moves at the deadline, but nothing to really improve their offense really at all. So with the strikeout upside that he can bring, I have him ranked third. There's 2 guys that I would prefer, or there's 1 guy cheaper that I would prefer over Rodriguez, and I think he's more of a GPP play, if anything. Peralta, speaking of GPP plays, is definitely a GPP play only for me. Facing off against Atlanta, their offense just has not been great. I mean, they just have had injury after injury after injury. And then Klenich, he was one like a lefty at the top of their lineup who could still hit, and then this past 3 weeks has hit, and he can't do anything. I think I saw a stat that Klenich was 3 for his past 52 at-bats. Just disaster. So Peralta, he can bring you that upside, but he's also a pitcher that when you put him into your lineups against a toughish on-paper lineup, you get a little bit of concern with it. So GPP only for him. Let's head over to the sheet. We'll talk about it. And you can kind of quickly see Bradley, then Sale, Rodriguez, Peralta, just like I said. Heading over to the mid-tier, Singer and Lopez, and then just a massive gap, I really think, after you get past Singer's salary price tag. Singer's going to be facing off against the White Sox. Just play anybody against the White Sox at this point in time. I mentioned it in our Discord there yesterday. I think it was yesterday. The White Sox can win every game the remainder of this month. They can win every single game in August. They can win every single game in September and the remaining games that they have in October. And they still will not have a winning record this season. It is just unreal how poor this team has been. And Singer, he faced them 10 days ago. He put up 30 DK points. It would not shock me if he's able to get 30 DK points once again. So I do think that Singer is going to be very popular and Bradley's going to be very popular. This pairing, especially in cash games like double ups and head-to-heads, Singer-Bradley is going to be a very popular pairing. If you don't have the salary to get up to one of these guys and you need to go cheap, there's really only one option that I'm going to have a little bit of interest in, and it's going to be Andrew Heaney. But before we get there, let's talk about Pablo Lopez facing off against the Mets, because I did have him ranked right after Singer. This is another GPP play only for me. He's like Peralta, and that, he's got a toughish matchup but he is a pitcher that has elite stuff when he is on. But when he is not on, it can get ugly quick. Lopez has looked much better as of late, but still on the season as a whole, he has had those Aaron Nola, Freddie Peralta, Blake Snell, like really high, awesome, this guy's elite games, but he's also had those games that make you question, like, is this guy really, truly an ace? But it does keep his salary a little bit down because of that. All right, so Singer over Lopez, big gap, and then Severino, he's just kind of there. You know, am I excited about it? No, I can honestly almost put him over into the fade, no interest category, if I'm being completely honest with you. Going into the cheap tier, Heaney is really the only guy that I have interest or confidence in. Facing off against St. Louis. St. Louis has a lot of right-handed bats in their lineup, and facing off against lefty and Heaney, definitely advantage towards them, but at the same time, he does have a decent strikeout rate. He has a solid strikeout rate for his salary, right? For a sub 7K guy, his strikeout rate is very solid. You can see it's 1-to-1, 105 Ks in 105 innings. The issue with Heaney is that he does allow a lot of hard contact. Historically in his career, he's suffered with allowing home runs. He's been much better of late as kind of like minimizing and reducing them. And you can quickly see here, like he's got the upside with the 10 strikeouts, but he's also got the struggles that can come with it as well. But he has looked, wow, I guess I didn't realize how good he's been looking as of late. Regardless, cash games, only if you really need the extra salary. But I think that Singer and Bradley are just so high above everybody else, and neither of them, and you're still at 4K remaining for the rest of your bats. I don't see there's any reason for you to need to go down to Heaney off these guys, especially in cash. GPP, go for it. GPP, you can even throw Thorpe in there for like a guy who could have upside, but at the same time, I don't trust it, especially facing off against Kansas City. So heading over towards the bats, everybody else is just a fade. This McGreevy guy, I honestly don't know much about him, other than he's only pitched in the minors this season. He was a former first-round draft pick. His ERA is like 4.3 in the minors, so nothing to get super excited about. Munoz, he is to be determined. Not 100% sure if he's even going to be going for Miami. And then I think it's going to be Espino for Toronto. DK has Yariel Rodriguez here. I think it's going to be Espino. If it is Espino, just even more interest in the Baltimore bats. Espino's got a ERA close to 6 in the minor leagues this season. So, yeah, give me all the Baltimore. Give me all the Baltimore. Perfect. We'll talk about that. But Tampa Bay, I really like them as well, facing off against potentially Munoz, but it looks like it's just going to be a bullpen game for Miami. Miami, one of the worst bullpens, if not the worst bullpen in baseball. And Tampa Bay, they just added a couple of guys to their lineup, Christopher Morel being the biggest guy. In his first game with them, he already hit a home run. So maybe he's going to find... Morel was a big disappointment. Like, he has been a disappointment this season. I think we can kind of agree on that, right? But maybe a new change in scenery is going to really ramp things up for him. But I do like Tampa Bay regardless, facing off against Miami and that bullpen. Then I think it's a big gap. I'm going to include KC. I want to include KC with Baltimore and Tampa Bay. These are like the big three that I have a lot of interest in, and then I think it would be like a big gap after them. Kansas City, they got a lot of cheap guys in their lineup. They also got a lot of lefties that can do some damage to Thorpe. Some of the cheaper guys, like you got Isbell and Melendez. Isbell's probably going to be batting 9th, so if you're looking for like a wraparound stack, you can include him in there. But even like the more quote-unquote expensive guys like Massey and Pasquantino, you're still looking at 4.7 and 4.1 for each of these guys. Nothing that's really going to truly break the bank, especially when you got 4K remaining if you go with Singer and Bradley in your double-up builds. Salary is not going to be too much of an issue. You can even throw Bobby Witt in there, 3.7. Like, you should be just fine. No true concerns there. Going into the GPP, I do like Philadelphia facing off against Cortez. Cortez has had a little bit of a home run issue as of late, and that's really not what you want to hear when you're facing off against this Philadelphia lineup. So the upside, I think, with this team, with the power that they have and also the base stealing that these guys can have, is enough to take down tournaments, because that's what you're chasing. You're chasing the upside. You're chasing the home runs that these guys can get. New York, kind of right behind them. I don't know. I feel like I've said what I wanted to say in terms of like hopefully guiding you in the right direction. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Good luck in your contest here on Wednesday, and then we'll be back on Thursday for another preview video. See ya.